Hey guys, it's Kelly from Chronic Illness to Reality, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the gentamicin injections, so stay tuned. Hey there guys, so I'm really excited to share with you some about my gentamicin experience. I'm specifically going to answer some questions that were asked. What happens with the gentamicin injection? And the questions that I got were specifically addressed toward the vertigo and the disequilibrium part of the Gent. I do have video of my recovery so you can see how my walking was, and I'm hoping to get that together relatively soon. It just is going to take me a little bit of time because of my health. Basically with balance, what happens is your eyes, your brain, and your ears, for the most part, are what controls balance. Now, your cerebellum, which is in the back of your head, is part of your brain, deals with balance, but in a different way. So it's mostly your eyes, your ear, and your brain. When the gentamicin, which is vestibulotoxic means that the gentamicin is toxic to the vestibular part of the inner ear, or the balance part of the inner ear. And so when it gets to, first it has to go in through the cochlea, through the fluid, and then it goes all the way to the semicircular canals, which are the vestibular part of the balance center of your inner ear. And then as the Gent is there in the endolymph, which is a fluid, it will start killing off the nerve cells that would normally communicate with your brain. When your brain stops getting those signals from your balance center, then it starts to have vertigo and the disequilibrium pretty severely. So that's why you get vertigo and the disequilibrium when the gentamicin hits the balance portion of your ear, because your brain is basically freaking out, going, where is the input from the ear? I'm not getting it. So you start getting vertigo and disequilibrium. The vertigo and the disequilibrium lasts until your other ear, your healthy ear, starts to compensate for what the brain is no longer getting from the Gent ear, the ear you put the Gent in. Basically, it takes as long as your other ear, your healthy ear, relearns, and your brain kind of relearn how to balance you. And the thing is that the worse the vertigo, the worse the disequilibrium, the more damage it's doing to the ear. But you want that because then you're going to have a better recovery. So you're going to have more time vertigo free. Now, that's my experience. Other people may not have that experience. Other people may have a short period of time of vertigo and disequilibrium, and maybe still have a really long time of vertigo free. It depends on your doctor's protocol too, of how they actually do the gentamicin. My doctor does one injection and then he waits a month. Some doctors will do it once a week. It really depends on your doctor. So the actual method of administration, how much the doctor puts in, how often he or she will be doing the Gent, it could also affect these things as well. It says, can you tell me what it feels like after you have the Gent? First of all, everyone is very, very different in how they react in their body. I have multiple chronic illnesses, and one of the chronic illnesses I have affects my neurological system. And how it affects my neurological system is that it makes my body respond in an exaggerated fashion to different things. So I can't tell you if my Gent experience is exactly normal, but I can tell you some things that I think are probably par for the course for Gent in general. I highly recommend you call your doctor, talk to your doctor about it, because they will be able to give you a good idea of what people's experiences are. My doctors told me that the chance for some hearing loss, but not everyone gets that, But what he did tell me was everyone gets the off-balanceness. Is the room spinning, or can you see fine with no room spinning and you just can't walk straight? You get vertigo, so the room is spinning, and you get disequilibrium, which means you can't walk straight. So you get both at the same time. Because of the nature of what the gentamicin is doing to your ear and the loss of signal to your brain, you will have both vertigo and disequilibrium, or the off-balanceness. The severity that you experience probably depends on how much gentamicin gets to your balance center. It probably depends on your anatomy. My doctor told me, the very first one, he told me to prepare from having vertigo and off-balanceness anywhere from a couple of days to 3 weeks. Now, I have had the Gen 3 different times, and all 3 injections were different experiences. Let me back up. The injections themselves, the procedure, and how I responded to the procedure were exactly the same. If you'd like to see a video on how I respond to the procedure and how that goes, my husband and I have a vlog called Our Chronic Dance, and you can watch and see. You won't actually see the injection actually happen, but you will see right after, you will see how I was doing. You'll see reports from the other 2 injections that I got and some descriptions of how things were going. So you can check that out. I'll give you a link in the description. I have had different experiences with all 3. With the first gentamicin injection, I experienced vertigo within about a week, and my disequilibrium was not severe. I would say it was more like a fun house, and I kind of would run into walls like if I was drunk, and I would kind of run into walls. Sometimes I would start walking in one direction and I couldn't stop. I just kept leaning that way, and or I would feel like a fun house where I'd want to go put my foot down, and it would feel like the ground had moved by the time I went to put my foot down. So that was the first time. So by the 4-week checkup, I was good. I was not using a cane. I wasn't using any assistive devices. By my 4-week checkup, I could drive, and I hadn't been able to drive for well over a year before that. So that was a pretty significant change. The vertigo free was a huge change for me. My first experience with it, I would say, was ideal. Yes, there was vertigo. Yes, there was disequilibrium, but it wasn't so severe. I didn't feel like I couldn't tolerate it. I had about 2.5 months of complete vertigo free, and then I had a Meniere's attack, and then I went about a couple more months after that without vertigo, and then I got the Meniere's attacks again, and so I got a gentamicin injection in April of 2016. The gentamicin injection, what happened after that one was that I did get hit about 9 days in again, and that time was much worse. The vertigo was severe, and as was the disequilibrium, and it was so bad I was in bed and could not walk. I was leaning on my husband, and it took several weeks. It probably took me about 3 to 4 weeks till I was walking well around the house with assistance with a cane, and it took about 2 months for my body to completely be in a place where I could walk with no assistance, and I was good. I was walking around fine. So after the one where in April where things were more severe, I had better results. So I went a good straight 6 months without, almost 7 months without vertigo. And I was without a Meniere's attack. I was over the moon. I just expected it to keep going. And unfortunately it didn't. So then I started to have some Meniere's attacks again. And yeah, so then I had the gentamicin injection in December of 2016, about 6 weeks ago. And though the doctor told me that at some point because we are kind of chipping away at killing the vestibular organ, there's the partial ablation, the partial ablation, the partial ablation. So basically killing it a little bit at a time. He said that I might not have as a severe episode and that things could get better over time. I will tell you that after you get a gentamicin injection, the quality and the way that the vertigo feels is a little bit different than it felt before. I can't explain it exactly, but it is a little bit different. It's still not pleasant. It's not like it's any better. So this time with this gentamicin injection, I didn't get hit until about 8 or 9 days out, which is kind of consistent for me. And I got hit much worse. So the vertigo I would feel like I would be falling while I was in bed and it wouldn't stop. A lot of times what would happen is my body would get so exhausted that I would just fall asleep, kind of like with a Meniere's attack. I often would fall asleep. For me, the vertigo, I feel like I'm constantly falling and I feel like everything is moving around me. There would be things that were constantly spinning, but then also things would never really stop. It wasn't like attacks of vertigo. It would be that I was always spinning and I could never just sit still and feel like I wasn't going to fall over. Sometimes it would be worse than others, and it's just been a nightmare. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. With trying to learn to walk, a lot of it has been scooching on my rear. Even being on my rear on the floor, I still feel like I'm falling. I'm gripping onto the walls. When my husband could help me, I was just clinging onto him for dear life. Although I was not feeling, he was kind of trying to wrangle me like a wild animal because I didn't know where I was. So I was kind of just rocking around in his arms, just flailing everywhere. Eventually it got to a place where instead of gripping the walls or the floor, I did better with canes, and I felt like I could do things with 2 canes, and I used canes to bounce, keep me from falling over. And vertigo, constantly still. The vertigo will make my disequilibrium worse. And I'm talking just going from the bed to the bathroom. I really would try to come out here, which is my living area, and sit in the living room or maybe even just do a little bit of a walk. It's been rough. Although I can walk now, I'm still unsteady, but I think the unsteadiness is because of the vertigo. And I am 6 weeks out, so I wouldn't expect to be, completely healed yet based on my other experience. And I want to encourage you that if you do choose to do a gentamicin injection, remember that everyone's body is different. I could be having a very exaggerated version of what Gent looks like for people, so this might not be at all what you experience. I've heard of people who will have just a few days of vertigo and disequilibrium, and then they've gone for 13 months without any vertigo, which is wonderful. I would tell you that I felt like it was completely worth it to have no Meniere's attacks and no vertigo when beforehand I wasn't functioning. I was completely disabled by the vertigo. So I guess it depends on how it's affecting your life. For me, I couldn't function whenever I got a gentamicin. It's because it's completely impeding my life. And it takes a lot of mental resilience. So I would say, find what helps you to be strong and have that ready for when you are going to be going through the disequilibrium and the vertigo. If you're going to do it, I really just cheering you on. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section. I would be happy to answer anything you have. Wish I knew how most people responded or more people reacted. And if you all have experiences with Gent, put it describe it in the comments so other people can see, because that would be really, really great. I'm sure a lot of people would benefit from that. The gentamicin injection is a challenging treatment, but it can be so rewarding. I wish you all the best, and please keep me updated on how things go. I'd love to know, after sharing all this with you all, I'd love to know what your experiences are and what you plan on doing. I'm cheering you on, and remember, you all are not alone.